What comes to mind when Gregory Mannarino hears the words rethinking the dollar?
Run from the dollar. That would be the first thing that comes to mind. And bet against it at every chance you possibly have. That's how I would say rethink the dollar. I think that's the only way to think about the dollar. Again, we're existing in an environment where world central banks are printing these. Well, first of all, let's define what the dollar is. It's an unbacked liability being distributed by a bankrupt government. It's not backed by anything. So that's really what it is, and I think people need to understand that.
Right, fair enough there. Now, why, in your opinion, I know in my opinion, I think it's very important. So why would you think it's very important for people to begin taking interest in monetary matters as well as their own personal budget and economic things like that?
Well, the number one thing that people need to understand is we're in an environment that is not sustainable. What I mean by that is world central banks have gotten so, I don't know another word for it, desperate, to keep the system propped up that they've turned the entire financial system upside down by going negative interest rates, suppressing the entire debt market, which is the largest part of this market. And what that has done is created an environment of unbelievable distortions across the spectrum of asset classes. Nothing is real, from currencies to the dollar, to the debt market, to the stock market, to precious metals, and housing, and every other thing you want to think about as an asset. It derives its value off of the debt market. So when you have an environment that is being artificially suppressed here, there's no price discovery mechanism behind anything. So what that does, again, is create, in orders of magnitude, a twisting of the system where nothing is real. And the issue here underlying all of this is this will correct to fair market value at one point. There's no doubt about it. And why am I so certain of this? It's very simple. All we need to do is look back upon history and look at every single bubble that we've ever been in. In my opinion, we are now in the greatest bubble that the world has ever known, and that is this debt bubble. The problem with the debt bubble is it's not just a financial problem. And earlier in the pre-interview, we were talking about millennials here. I think that the millennial personnel there unfortunately thinks of this as a financial problem. This is not a financial problem. This is a resource issue. We continue to borrow cash from the future to sustain the now in greater and greater amounts, basically robbing the future of the millennial people out there and their children to sustain this. This cannot go on forever here. And the ramifications of this debt bubble bursting, which will burst because every single other bubble in history has burst before it without exception, means we're going to be facing a crisis of the currency, rethinking the dollar, and resources are not going to be available to people. This is the issue here. It's not a financial issue. It's a resource problem. And in many ways, the world central banks have created an alternative universe that would not exist having this debt-based economic model. I would urge your listeners to just go to Google and Google this title, Global Debt and the Human Bubble. It's an article that I wrote which will outline this phenomenon that we're talking about right now.